town of Ravenscroft was a place where time seemed to stand still. Nestled at the base of a mountain range and surrounded by a thick, misty forest, its history was as dense as the fog that often enveloped it. As I drove into town, the silhouette of the abandoned hospital loomed in the distance, its once grand structure now a haunting reminder of Ravenscroft's prosperous past. I'm Max, and old buildings whisper secrets to me. My grandfather, a historian, had instilled in me a love for the stories that lay hidden within crumbling walls. With every exploration, I felt closer to him, unearthing tales of times gone by. My blog, a digital diary of my adventures, had garnered a small following. Today's exploration was of the Ravenscroft Hospital, a place shrouded in mystery. Parking my car near the entrance, I took a moment to breathe in the damp, earthy scent of the forest. The hospital, with its broken windows and ivy-covered walls, beckoned. As I stepped inside, the weight of the building's history pressed down on me. The faded wallpaper, the scattered medical equipment, and the eerie silence told tales of life and death. I had heard rumors about why the hospital was abandoned, whispers of a sealed-off wing, of shadows that moved in the night, and of a darkness that had once consumed the town. But rumors were just that, and I was here for the truth. Walking through the dimly lit corridors, my flashlight revealed forgotten patient records, old photographs, and medical tools from a bygone era. But it was the sealed wing that drew me in. A heavy metal door, with chains and a large padlock, stood as a barrier to whatever lay beyond. Curiosity gnawed at me. Why was this wing sealed off? What secrets did it hold? Taking a deep breath, I decided to find out. Little did I know that my decision would change Ravenscroft, and my life, forever. The chains on the door rattled ominously as I approached, echoing through the silent hallways. I took out a set of lockpicks from my backpack, a skill I had acquired over years of urban exploration. The padlock was old and rusted, but after a few tense moments, I heard the satisfying click of it unlocking. Pushing the heavy door open, a gust of cold, stale air hit me. The sealed wing was darker, the atmosphere thicker. My flashlight's beam cut through the darkness, revealing a corridor lined with closed doors. Each step I took was met with the creaking of the old wooden floor beneath me. As I ventured deeper, I noticed one door slightly ajar. Pushing it open, I was met with a sight that sent chills down my spine. In the center of the room stood an ornate coffin, its surface adorned with intricate carvings of bats and moons. The craftsmanship was exquisite, unlike anything I had ever seen. My heart raced as I approached the coffin. The historian in me wondered if it could be a relic from the early days of Ravenscroft. But the explorer in me, driven by adrenaline and curiosity, couldn't resist the urge to see what was inside. Slowly lifting the heavy lid, I was met with emptiness. No body, no artifacts, just a void. But the air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled in. It was then that I heard it, a soft, almost inaudible whisper coming from the shadows. Turning around, my flashlight caught the glint of two red eyes staring back at me. A figure, gaunt and pale, emerged from the darkness. It was the vampire, its monstrous form a stark contrast to the tales of suave and charming creatures of the night. I stumbled back, the weight of my discovery pressing down on me. The vampire, weakened from its confinement, didn't attack. Instead, it whispered, "Freedom," before disappearing into the shadows. The realization hit me. I had unleashed an ancient evil upon Ravenscroft, an evil that had once been a renowned doctor, now transformed into a creature of the night. The sealed wing, the coffin, it all made sense. The hospital had been this creature's prison, and I had set it free. The weight of my actions bore down on me as I hurriedly exited the sealed wing. The once silent corridors of the hospital now echoed with distant whispers and the soft fluttering of unseen wings. The atmosphere was charged with an electric tension, and I could feel the presence of the vampire lurking in the shadows. As I made my way to the exit, I stumbled upon the hospital's old archives. Drawn by an inexplicable urge, I began to sift through the dusty files and records. Among them, I found an old journal with a faded emblem of the hospital on its cover. It belonged to the head nurse. The entries detailed the hospital's daily operations, patient records, and personal reflections. But as I delved deeper, a chilling narrative began to unfold. The journal spoke of a brilliant doctor who had been at the forefront of medical advancements. His dedication to finding cures for the most mysterious ailments had made him a revered figure in Ravenscroft. However, one entry stood out. It spoke of a patient with a condition unlike any other. Despite the doctor's best efforts, the patient's health deteriorated rapidly. In a desperate attempt to save him, the doctor tried an experimental treatment using a rare herb found in the surrounding forest. But instead of curing the patient, it transformed him into a monstrous creature with an insatiable thirst for blood. The hospital staff, realizing the danger, managed to subdue and imprison the creature in the sealed wing. The journal's final entries were frantic, filled with guilt and fear, as the head nurse grappled with the horror of what they had unleashed and the decision to keep it a secret. As I absorbed the information, a cold hand gripped my shoulder. I turned to face the vampire, its red eyes piercing into mine. But instead of fear, I saw a deep sadness. "You know my story now," it whispered. "But do you know of the betrayal?" The realization hit me. The creature before me was the doctor, transformed by a tragic twist of fate, and I had set him free. The night outside the hospital was eerily silent. The once vibrant town of Ravenscroft lay in the shadow of the monstrous being I had unwittingly released. As I ventured into the town, the evidence of the vampire's reign of terror was everywhere. Homes lay in darkness, doors ajar, with no signs of life. The streets were deserted, save for the occasional flutter of a bat's wings overhead. I made my way to the town's library, hoping to find more information on the pact mentioned in the head nurse's journal. The old wooden doors creaked open, revealing rows of ancient books and manuscripts. In a dimly lit corner, I found a section dedicated to the town's history. There, I discovered a tattered book that detailed the secret pact made by the town's elders. The vampire, bound by ancient rules, had once protected Ravenscroft from external threats. In exchange, the town offered him sanctuary. But as years passed and the vampire's hunger grew uncontrollable, the pact was broken. The town's elders, fearing for their safety, betrayed the vampire and imprisoned him in the hospital. The book also spoke of a ritual to bind the vampire once more, but it required an offering, a sacrifice to appease the ancient being. Determined to right my wrongs, I decided to confront the vampire. Armed with the knowledge from the book, I returned to the hospital. The vampire awaited me, his form more terrifying than before, strengthened by the blood of the town's residents. "Your ancestors betrayed me," he hissed, "and now you shall pay for their sins." But as we faced off, I noticed a glimmer of humanity in his eyes. The doctor, the man he once was, still existed somewhere deep within. Using the ritual from the book, I began to recite the ancient words, hoping to bind the vampire once more. The hospital trembled as a battle of wills ensued. The vampire, torn between his monstrous nature and the remnants of his human soul, struggled against the ritual's power. The air grew thick with tension as the ritual reached its climax. The walls of the hospital seemed to pulse with energy, and the ground beneath us trembled. The vampire, his form shifting between the monstrous creature and the doctor he once was, let out a guttural scream, a sound filled with pain, anger, and sorrow. As the final words left my lips, a blinding light enveloped the room. When it subsided, the vampire lay on the ground, his form now that of the doctor, his eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice weak. "You freed me from the curse that bound me." I approached him cautiously, the weight of my actions and the realization of the tragedy that had befallen this man weighing heavily on me. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "I never meant for any of this to happen." The doctor smiled weakly. "It's not your fault. he replied. "The choices of the past have a way of catching up with us. But thanks to you, I can finally find peace." As the first light of dawn broke through the windows, the doctor's form began to fade, his spirit finally free from the curse that had bound him for so long. I left the hospital, the events of the night forever etched in my memory. Ravenscroft, once a bustling town, now lay silent, its residents forever changed by the horrors they had witnessed. As I drove away, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The vampire was gone, but the scars of that night remained. The town's dark history, the betrayal of the pact, and the consequences of my actions would haunt me forever. I realized that some mysteries are best left undiscovered, some doors unopened. But the allure of the unknown, the thrill of exploration, would always call out to me. And as I drove into the horizon, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered.